historians are starting to think, and archaeologists are starting to think that, oh no, that wherever the conquerors arrived and it was empty, that smallpox had gotten there before and just wiped everybody out. So when they got there and they found an empty land, they thought, oh, there's nobody here. No, motherfucker, the disease you brought through pigs killed everybody, you know?
But it's, again, not knowing our history, right? Like, even not having all the facts there. So that's why I like love storytelling, because again, like I say this all the time, but if no one's telling our stories, if we're not telling our stories, then the story's going to be told for us and the narrative is going to be written for us. So that's my goal too with this podcast, is really amplifying our stories and our voices, because it's not just all one way. And if we're not telling it, if we're not representing, then other people are going to try to do it for us.
You're the youngest in your family, right? And you have...
I'm the youngest.
So, and I know somebody, my
there's a lot to talk about there.
Because
I was hella shy. We didn't touch on that, but I was hella shy growing up. I was so loud in my family, you know, being the youngest. I was just the la inquieta. I was like, I couldn't like stay still. I was always moving around. I was always wanting to do something. But the minute someone else came through the door, I was like so quiet.
What was that about, do you think?
It came from a lot of things. And I've had to do a lot of reflecting on this, because I'm like, I don't know where that came from, but really growing up as the youngest, and by far the youngest. So my brother and I were the two youngest, and we're 6 years apart. And my oldest brother, he's 45. So there's a big gap, you know, and like I was the youngest, la princesa, they called me.
The youngest.
the
youngest of the youngest. Yeah.
The youngest of the youngest. And so whenever they would have conversations about, you know, cosas de adultos, you know, adult things, I was never in the picture. So then I would always kind of be by myself and like wanting to like know the conversation. Like that's where the chismosa in me came out. But I was like, what are they talking about? Why can't I be a part of it? And I would just be in my room.
Into the sala and shit.
Yeah. Because then like my brothers, they were in high school and they would bring over all their friends and I would want to be a part of it. And like I was, and like it was fun, but I was always like left out.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it was adult conversations between my family and like, I still would like listen in. Like my brothers, like they snuck out in the middle of the night and like they had a conversation, but I wasn't allowed to be a part of it. So I would just be in my room trying to listen in. But whenever it would be like family gatherings, I was never allowed to have an opinion. I was always asked to step away. And so I think over time, and this wasn't obviously purposeful, but over time I was kind of conditioned to just be the quiet one and like not say anything. And just be the girl that brought the good vibes, you know, like just be the one that's like fun and the one that has an opinion. And there's a lot of things that I had to bear from myself because it translated in a lot of different facets of my life. Whether it was in school, if they asked me if I had an opinion, I'd be like, no. Even though I did. And I was like, oh my God. And I would write it down and be like all these things. Right. And I actually had a professor of mine in college who like pointed that out for me. He was like, he would always ask me every class, Jasmine, do you have an opinion? And I'd be like, no. Jasmine, do you have an opinion? Nope. Every time. And he would always call on me. And I was like, why does he keep calling on me? And I remember I did this paper and I got a C on it. And someone who loves school, who was always trying to get good grades because, you know, I had to sponsor my dad a couple years after. It's a whole different story. But I was like, why did I get a C? And I was so upset. And I go into his office and I'm like, freaking that like, so pissed being that loud Latina. I'd be like, what happened with my paper? I like did everything you asked for. It's good. I like read it a couple times, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, sit down. Like, it's okay. Like, chill, relax. And he goes, this grade, I gave it to you because I wanted to see what your opinion was going to be, if you were going to call me out or not.
He's good.
And he was like, yeah, amazing professor, Robert James, shout out. But he goes, why don't you speak up in class? And I was like, I don't know, because I don't have an opinion. He's like, your papers, you right now, you clearly have an opinion, but you're like not sharing it. So that was the first moment that someone like really saw the potential in me. And they were like, why don't you speak? Like use your voice. And I mean, look at me now. I use it every single day in work. I know, that's my family. Even like every time I told them I'm doing, you know, like communications.
Who has a podcast?
Cool. Yeah. They'd be like, what? You never spoke. And I'm like, because y'all never asked me anything.
Yeah.
And again, it's not purposeful. They weren't trying to be that way. It's just so ingrained in like the youngest people just step out of the room because we're having adult conversations. Like that's just part of the culture. And so it's just kind of funny. Like once he told me that, and once I realized the power in my voice, like there was no stopping me. Like now I use it every single day and like I make a career out of it. And now no one can shut me up. I'm just
That's
like,
crazy.
I have an opinion on everything now.
Yeah.